Welcome to Gold Coast meeting. This is, I believe, August, I think. Can anybody confirm whether it's what month it is?
What year is it?
Yeah, no, I ain't going to mention the year because that's bad juju. Tonight, we are very, very lucky to have Irene Bowers with us as our speaker. I have been trying to get her here for over a year now to come speak to us. She was supposed to be in person, and that just didn't quite work out. I don't know why. Maybe next year we'll get her here in person. I'm not even going to go through all her accolades and all the other stuff. If you want to know who she is, look her up. If you don't know who she is, look her up. Otherwise, let's just enjoy the show. And Irene, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All righty. And then I just hit share screen, right?
Just hit share screen and hopefully it works.
All right. You guys tell me, let me see, desktop. So let's go there. And you let me know if you see it.
I see it.
Okay, well, let me, of course, technical difficulties. You guys are looking at these slides going, oh my God, it's going to be a big, long slideshow. But it's not. I'll try to keep it as quick as I can. I'm calling this the art of composite photography so that we can discuss that because that's exactly what it is for me. Well, this is where you can find me, just in case you want to. I post a lot on Instagram, and I have a website that I'm trying to be better about keeping a blog. So just a little bit about me. I was raised with an art background to the extent that my grandmother was an artist, an oil painter from Holland, no less. So, I mean, I was fortunate to be raised with turpentine and all that good stuff. Took it in college, and then I switched gears and did public relations because I thought I can't possibly do anything with this. So this is just a picture of a studio, a girl in studio that I shot 7 years ago. I knew nothing about photography in terms of lighting. And as I started learning, I couldn't leave the pictures alone. I always had to put a background in or do something. So thought I would just throw that in. How I kind of got inspired is looking at other contemporary artists. And I'm going to point out a few to you that I really like, I admire, and they really helped form that interest even more in art and photography and combining the two. One is Ben Shirk. And if you guys don't know who any of these people are, please look them up because they are just so amazing. Here's a sample of his work. He is so good at blending texture with just different elements, and his color toning is beautiful. Brooke Shaden, if you've not, and I can't imagine somebody not hearing of her, but she is just another one that is so whimsical, and she has dark images too. I mean, just kind of fun, but she's a very generous instructor. So look her up because I think she's got a channel on YouTube and you can learn so much from her. She's just amazing. Of course, we all know our own Christy Elias. She's a great contemporary and colleague and also does great work. Sample of hers, follow her. If you have a chance to take a class, all these people are really, really terrific. Richard Wood is another one that a lot of people have not heard of. He's based out of, I think it's Australia or New Zealand, and just fantastic. Kind of whimsical, kind of just, he's got a great sense of humor. And I'm always inspired by the stories that these people tell. Here's another one of his. And I always laugh and say, you know what, we're not the only ones to do composite artistry. I look at these people in the 1600s and they were throwing angels up in the sky and doing all that stuff way back when. Of course, they're painting, but we have that ability too. So don't copy, but be inspired with some of these people. And here's a sample of how you can be inspired. You know, a lot of people don't know where to go once they start looking at composite photography. This is a woman named Tara Lesher, and she does kind of whimsical children's type stuff. And she deconstructed an image that I found fascinating. It's on her blog. So she took that picture of the boy. She had that ocean scene, combined it with, the sky to create that first image. So I thought, well, I had this rambunctious 1-year-old And I could put her inside this bucket, which I had a picture of a boat, some birds, and put it together to where she was now also in the water, in the ocean. I mean, not that a 1-year-old would be, but in my imagination, it could happen. And Getty's, another one that you could be inspired by. And as you look at the images, I ask myself, what can I do? Not to copy, but be inspired and do something different with that. So I had photographed this baby. I don't particularly love photographing babies, but I was helping a friend with one. And I thought, gosh, what could you do to do something really different? And so I got a piece of felt, and I had this flower that I got at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one of the two, and then put them together to do what would be my rendition of an Anne Geddes inspired image. Here's a baby that I shot, a friend's baby. And I had a calla lily, a real calla lily, and just thought, why not? Just asking that question, why not? And then here's another baby. And there you go. So why bother learning to composite? Because a lot of people are like, why should I do this? And I feel like that compositing can be as basic as adding textures to pictures, and in which case you can take something kind of a cute but kind of boring picture and make it a little bit extraordinary or different or storytelling. And at the end of the day, that is my main objective with any image I do, is I really try to tell a story. Here is an example of taking a plain image. You'll see on the bottom reference there that this was a girl that we shot in a parachute dress. Just put it over her, whatever. Her father had passed away the year before, and just by learning some techniques with textures and or clouds, there's a cloud you'll see on the lower right corner that I used to overlay and colorized it so it had that peachy pink, and through doing some painting could create something that told to me the story of her losing her dad, or in my imagination, I thought that she was gazing at, I don't want to say heaven, but it had that feel to me. So at the very most practical level, if you know how to composite, you can recreate stuff that may not have been possible before. There was a wedding that I second shot at, and talk about fire. This was a couple of years ago, and everything was in flames. She was distraught because, nobody could get in. They finally could. They had to show ID. This all went down on the wedding day. But in meeting with her before, she really wanted to have a picture of herself going down this cobblestone path. And so I got the picture of them kissing, which wasn't really that extraordinary. It was just, I kind of second shot it, but I was thinking they wanted to be on the staircase. So I put them there, and she was like, I don't remember sitting there or standing there. Like, you were, just a busy day. Compositing also provides a convenient way to create gorgeous shots when the boundaries of reality prohibit it. For instance, she wanted to have a picture of her horse, but the horse was in the stable, which is, look, it's ugly, frankly. There's no story, it's a sweet picture, but there's nothing much going on. But because I take so many pictures wherever I go, I had this barn from St. Louis, and I could put her into that same image. Well, now she has a piece of art. And that whole thing took, to take the picture of her, 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. So it didn't take long. Compositing took a little longer, but you're going to see after tonight that it's not as complicated as you think. It does take practice, but it's not bad. So here is a picture of, okay, this kid he would not sit still, and his parents wanted a picture of him, and it was not going to happen. It just wasn't. And I love kids, but it wasn't. So I said, well, let's give him a paintbrush and let him just pretend that he's painting somebody. Well, I go to the zoo a lot. I'm a member. And I don't know, you can see where my mind was going. I'm paintbrush. We've got giraffes. And I'd seen an image like this somewhere that they would paint the dots on the giraffe. Set a field, and then I had this. I keep adding elements. And when you're doing stuff for print competition as well, the more elements you can introduce in a composite, it's not necessarily the main thing, but if you can, it's always a pretty good thing. So here, colorize the paint cans, and you can see the dots on our really cute little giraffe. And we made him look at the little boy just by doing puppet warp, so you could bend his head down, which was kind of cool. But you know, I kind of wanted to take it one step further, so I decided to make it nighttime, because what little boy wouldn't want to go alone at night unsupervised to paint dots on a giraffe?
That is cute.
It's fun. Sometimes, I mean, it doesn't all have to be serious. I do think it allows us to indulge in fantasy and create really magical images that tell a story. And for me, doing this makes you stand apart from the crowd. You know, everybody has a cell phone. I mean, photographers all have a camera. So here, as an example, was a model that I shot, again, several years ago. And just to give you an idea of inspiration, my husband drug me, and I mean drug me, to a Pink Floyd concert. I don't like Pink Floyd. Sorry, it's just not my cup of tea. But I was a good wife. I went. Well, a lot of elements that went on visually during the concert was, in this particular case, there was a clock. And it was also the time of year that a sister-in-law of mine, really close friend, passed away. So I was like, oh, if we could only grab time in a bottle. So I kind of went with that. Sometimes it's just a saying even that will make you think, oh, I could work with that. So I did. So I took the tree trunk away, put her on a bottle, and learned how to make flying letters during Tom Rouse's class during West Coast School, which was phenomenal. And so it's really cool. But I don't just stop at real people. A passion of mine is also taking statues and colorizing them, or kind of bringing them to life, as it were. This is a statue from the Huntington Gardens. This just shows you how you can work with what you got. If it's COVID and you can't get out, you could do something like this. Let me see here. I kind of imagine the story of this woman, again, always asking what might the story be. And I tried to envision what the actual sculptor might have imagined as he was doing this. So I had a few of these different elements. I imagine that she would be in a Grecian area. Rocks from the Huntington Garden. My sweet husband, who always puts up with me when I'm like, hey, can you hold a bowl of fruit even though you're sweating from doing garden work? And he is a good sport. And so you can see at the bottom, all those elements were put together. Much of this in different blend modes that we're going to go through as we deconstruct one of our images. And that I've presented to the gardens, and it's hanging on one of their things, which is cool. And also, you can do the same kind of composite work with restorations. The bottom image was given to me by a friend who said, I have no idea what to do with this. I'm like, oh, I was so excited with this, because you can composite even in a restoration. When I do a restoration, it's not to bring it back to an exact replica. It's to retell the story and bring it as close to what I think the story might have been. But you can see here on the bottom, I needed to borrow my daughter's hand. She's like, ew, I don't want to be part of a naked picture. I said, it's just your hand, honey. I need your hand. So they put up with me. In short, you can be, if you're doing compositing, you can be the director of your own story. So it's kind of cool. So first, you want to try this. What do? You get a good library of textures and backgrounds. So for instance, textures. Let's just talk about it really fast. I use a lot of them. A lot of photographers do. You can even put any of these over a picture that you take with somebody in front of a regular background, solid color background, and it would still look really awesome. And where do you get them? I really just go out and I photograph. I photograph the floor. I'll take a walk, you know, just photograph the concrete, photograph the sidewalk. Gosh, I once went into a winery and I told my husband I had to go to the bathroom, and I did. But then I was sitting there, I won't get graphic, but I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, it was filled with this awesome tile. So I swear I sat there for a while taking pictures. But Brooke Shaden, I said how generous she is. She does a whole bunch of free textures, and you can see that down here. This is the website. You can get some, but really the reason they're free is you can get textures anywhere. And you can colorize them by putting a color balance layer on them. And if you have something like that, you can borrow from the color of your subject. In this case, it was a little girl, and add that texture in the back, which just gives it so much more interest. And I did also paint her after that. Another example of textures, you'll see on the bottom reference, I had 2 cheetahs that I photographed at the safari park and put them in this textured background, add some shadows down by the feet, and you've got something that's infinitely more interesting than you had before. So I shoot so many pictures of animals, and I figure one of them is going to be something that I'm going to love. Underwater. This is just some blue. This is sidewalk texture. And you can see when I put that over that, it suddenly has this underwater feel. This is from the aquarium, but you layer that on multiply over that, you suddenly have a really cool underwater beginnings of a picture. So what do? I take lots of images. Always, I try to take them flatly lit, especially if I'm going to use them in backgrounds, because then you can add your own lighting, which I think is awesome. I also keep a very organized catalog of all my images, and I even have just a couple of them just that I keep backups of, because God forbid I were to lose them, it would be really sad. Stock images you can get. Here's a list of some that you can look at, but just know that there are rules to all of these. Some have free, there's stipulations, so just follow those. Don't just take them off the internet, because it's not cool. And there's so many ways you can get really amazing, some paid for, some not. Adobe, of course, you pay for. A fun one is unsplash.com. You can get images. So even during COVID, if you want to play, you can kind of like put different elements together there. Let me go here. I always feel like an illustrative composite should tell a story. Well, I've already said that before, but I can't say it enough. It can be planned, it can be unplanned. And I always ask myself, I wonder what would happen if she were to be holding a balloon. Would she be flying? Would she not? I always answer that question to myself. And I always try to imagine, if I hope that I can prompt you to believe that something isn't, that it might be real, even though you know it's an illusion. It just makes it fun. And so here we'll go. Here's an example. A little girl that I told her that there was a bear, or I don't know what I told her was in the hole, but she's like, oh, really? Well, yes, really, because I could get the roots, and you'll see the thumbnail along the bottom. Those were all elements. Again, putting it in overlay and changing the lighting can do make a huge change in the composite you're doing. So it's just blending those different pieces in. And again, we're going to deconstruct one later. This is, oh, she was done with the shoot. Let me tell you, I am done. I'm not going to do it. This was really her attitude. But I thought, oh my gosh, there's a story here. And so I got the dog and a ball and just thought, I just could imagine her saying, I just don't want to play. And this is probably what I'll title it. And then here's a simpler one that I wanted to show you. This is the texture in the background, and the only thing added was just the shoes. So a composite doesn't have to be particularly difficult. This was fun. So I was doing I was helping a friend of mine with a shoot, and she was sitting on this, this bridge, and I thought, oh my gosh, it looks like she's sitting on a horse. So I said, can you just put your hands up like you're sitting on a horse? God love her. So I had this ugly horse that I took a picture of, and I think it was Cambria. I'm pretty sure it was. But I just thought, you never know when you need a horse. I take a picture of everything. So I had this was stock, and combined it to where she really is on the horse. Because if you cut out this girl and you do a puppet warp adjustment on her, you can make her hand go up, down, anywhere. So, and the horse was painted, so he doesn't look as raggedy as he did before, but you'll see the elements underneath there. There was some color toning that goes on, and these are things that you have to look at. Okay, I do think outside the box. So I love Christy's work and underwater work. And I'm like, gosh, I don't have a pool, or do I? So I have my little model act like she was in the water and created the background. So here she is floating up, but it still lacked a storyline. Again, always thinking about that. So I thought, So inspired by some of that stuff, then I decided, well, why don't I make one more mermaidy and one coming down from the top? So that was just a fun challenge, because I'm always saying, what if I had them do something like this in my little studio at home? So it's kind of fun. So the devil is, of course, in the detail. Does the lighting match? Does the color tone make sense? Because if you have two items together, it's not going to make sense if the color tone isn't right. But you can change that. Does the depth of field make sense? And are there any duplication and clone lines? Because as you're putting everything together, you're going to clone here and there and make it all, cohesive. But if you've got something like that, oh my gosh, it's not good. So sometimes I start with a sketch, and then based on that sketch, I will know how to pose my model. So here's one that I kind of knew the perspective, had these elements. Again, I sometimes even hold up the boat kind of visually in front of me, so I know kind of how to pose her, because I want to do as little work as I have to in Photoshop. So if you kind of know perspective before, that's really going to help. And that's where this came into being. The light was artificially put in. To make it believable, I had to have that light also reflect in the water. So you'll see there's bits of foam there that also have light. Here's another one, a sketch. This is my really fast drawing. And I'm going to go through this one quickly because it just shows you how different elements were put together. This I did a couple of years ago. I would have changed things. I would have made the elements in the background blurry now. So you kind of learn little tricks along the way of what you should do. And then this is just a fun piece that I did 2 years ago. Now we have COVID, so couldn't go out, couldn't do anything. So I've actually done a call out for people for cell phone pictures. So I call these my little COVID creations. So this is what I'm doing now, just to, gosh, keep entertained. So this is a baby that I did. Parents wanted it done. Here's another one. This was a photographer, so I did a ghost painting for her. And here is the finished piece here. And I want to tell you the last part of this, because we're going to quickly move on to the other presentation, is I have been doing a lot more digital painting. I've learned from Sandra, who's amazing, Sandra Pierce, and so many different people, but I've also been getting even more into more realistic oil painting with Michelle's Elevate Your Art class, and that's been phenomenal. There's so many good teachers out there that this is a great time to take advantage of all that. Here's another COVID creation painting. This is a statue head. And here she is painted afterwards. So that I worked on today, because why not? It's fun. And a little FYI, a little plug, and I get nothing for plugging this, but I really do think she does a great job. She has, Elevate Your Art only opens up like 2 times a year formally, I think. And so she's given me a pass that if you use this code and you do want to choose to do any painting, go for it. She'll open it up for 24 hours. So just shameless little plug there. But there's so many great instructors. Look at Michael Collins. He's in your back door, for crying out loud. Whatever it is, learn relentlessly and create fearlessly. And that fearlessly is huge, because you can't say, oh, I just can't do that. You don't let yourself say that. Try. And after today, you're going to see that it is possible and not as difficult as you think. So with that, do we have any questions?
Yes, so you're going to give a demonstration and do
Yep.
Oh, good. I'd like to see that.
We are going to do a whole picture, start to finish.
Good. And what time is, I've got horses to feed. What time is this going to finish?
You've got horses to feed?
Yeah, I've got 7 horses out there I need to feed before the sun goes down.
Oh, well, okay. If you need to feed them before the sun goes down, this will be televised. So, I mean, televised.
Yeah,
It's going to be.
but I'm really interested in seeing how you do it, how you do the, how you put it together.
Yes, and if you need to feed, I will not be offended. That's fine, because it will be recorded for you. So don't even worry. But it will be every step that I do. So I won't hold back. So definitely feed your horses. All right.
They won't go without, trust me.
They'll be very unhappy with you if you don't. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start. But first, does anybody have any questions right now before I start on this?
No, but we probably will very soon.
I know the only one commenting is our horse lady. So
Okay, Irene, your favorite groupie is now here. You can start.
Missed the best part, Kimberly.
No,
I'm
she has.
sorry, I was on a finance committee for my synagogue.
She's a stalker.
I am impressed with your work.
Oh, thank you so much. But this was just so I could show you where how it's kind of evolved. So now what we're going to do, let me get the right, we are going to reconstruct this particular image. And we will get through this whole thing this evening, and you're going to see, in fact, I see this image now, and what I've done for you, I even like better. So, oh well, it is what it is. But we're going to start with that, and I'm going to do that right now. So let's just get rid of this. And all I'm going to do is take you through each step. And if you have any questions, just shout it out. This is really bright in my eyes. So I'm going to just turn this down just a wee bit. Okay. All right. So first what I'm going to do is I am going to fill my image with a medium gray, because if I put something over it and change the blend mode, it will stick to it more. So you'll see. Just great. Awesome, so far so good. Then I'm going to get a picture of clouds. And I'm going to give you guys these clouds so you can use them, do whatever you want with it. I love taking pictures of clouds. I think like the sidewalks, they give so much, they give texture, they give natural value and tone that I just think is so awesome. So here we go to our layers, and I am going to duplicate that, and I'm going to put that on an overlay mode, and one I'm going to put on multiply. So we have 2 different blend modes. Now, let me show you where those are. If you don't know about your blend modes, you can change the way each layer behaves just by clicking on this. I find I use multiply and overlay a lot. Full opacity here, so you can see the difference that it has done just there. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to flatten, as it were, create a screenshot of this. So I'm going to hit Shift Option Command E. And there's a saying for that, Michael. What is it? It's not a screenshot.
The claw.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, put me on the spot right away.
I know. I'm losing my, well, anyway, if you do Shift Option Command E,
Merge visible.
it creates a merge visible to where anything that I turn off down here is not visible, but you get to play with it. So it's kind of like flattening along the way, but not flattening along the way. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to go Edit, Transform, Horizontal, Edit, Transform, Vertical. And why am I doing that? Well, hold on. Something didn't happen correctly. Horizontal and then vertical. I know I'm going to be adding two of these together, and I want to have a vignette feel. Super easy to do. What I get is a layer mask. Pick up your gradient tool and go across, and now suddenly I have something that looks like it's kind of got a, it's got its own value and its own vignette. It's really, to me, kind of really cool. So I'm going to put these together. So grouping these two layers, Command E, and now I've got a background. So I could get rid of all this down here if I wanted to, because this is where I'm going to start. So any questions so far? No, good. Okay, so now I want to kind of paint this so it doesn't look necessarily like clouds. So how do I do that? I'm going to go to my paintbrush, or to my mixer brush here. And if you don't know where the mixer, does everybody know where the mixer brush is?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then I don't have to go over
I
where
think
that is.
inside.
It's generally embedded by your brushes, but you can easily take that out, which I've done by going to the toolbar. And if you scroll down here, a lot of times the mixer brush is in with the regular brush setting. You know how like when you press the brush, you'll see also the pencil. And that's normally inside. I've drug it out, so now it's not. So what I'm going to do is I have a particular brush that I really like to work with my textures. And it is, I'm going to show you where, first, which one it is. Let me find it. Ah, here it is. It's this concept brush by Kyle. It's an all-purpose brush. Where do you find it? See this rotary dial right here? Adobe, this I learned from Sandra. Again, if you can take her class, she's awesome. When you click on this particular rotary tool, you can go to get more brushes. And Adobe gives you a ton of free brushes, and they're all located here. All of these are free if you subscribe. So it's really awesome. So the brush that I'm using today is actually in the concept location. So it's really fun to explore that right now, and they're just really great brushes. So I'm going to get that one, and I kind of cleaned up my brushes because I don't use all of them. So I keep what I like. And here's why I like this brush. I can just tap, and I use a Wacom tablet because I cannot envision compositing without a Wacom tablet. I just can't, because it's like a paintbrush. And you can see I am not doing anything particularly hard or difficult. I'm just sweeping up and creating what I hope is kind of a fun, different background. So I'm just going to do this kind of quickly.
Are you using the default settings on this brush,
Yep.
or have you changed
Just, nope, default settings.
it? Thank you.
So nothing, nothing difficult right now, just laying it down. I'm not even worried about that thing, that telephone pole.
So the brush is rotating on default, or you have set it
On default.
Okay.
And that's the wonderful thing about these Kyle brushes is they all act differently. And I have used this so many times on different textures to create a different look of how it behaves. So I absolutely, I'm gonna get rid of these two here. I absolutely love this brush. So I will work with this and then put this on, put it on overlay. So now I've just created this and I'm done. Let's just say I'm done. You could keep playing forever. And I try to watch this because you want this to not have a banding sort of look. So just kind of play with it and nothing, I'm just tapping. Very lightly moving my brush.
Can I ask you why you started with mixer brush? Because now it shows that it's a smudge brush, or is there some combination?
Oh, you know what? Okay. Yes, this one defaults to this, and you're right. I still call it a mixer brush. And it is the smudge. They're very interchangeable in a way, but this Kyle brush, even though I think of it more as a mixer brush, it puts it under the smudge category. So I apologize for that. Good catch. Thank you very much. So that's all I do. It's on overlay. I'm going to duplicate, and I kind of keep this. So this is my base. So this, let's just call this background, because I use my same background a lot when I'm building a piece so that it all marries together. And you'll see that because it's going to come together really quickly. I'm just going to duplicate this. And let's say I put this on multiply, and I'm going to scale it back. So now I've got something that my imagination can work with, because you saw the original image and mine was, I would love to get this bed and a window and a girl and put them all together. And so I'm going to lay down now the attributes for that. So let me get my bed and throw that in, because you're going to go, ew, that is the ugliest bed. It's grainy and it's icky, and you're right, but I don't care, because at nighttime, everything is kind of grainy and icky. This is actually from Hearst Castle. It was during one of those night tours that you can take like in December. This is really fun. So I know I want to flip this, so I'm going to say transform horizontal. And I don't get real picky with my cutouts because of how I work with them. So watch how easy it really is. You go to select here, subject. And it didn't do as good a job as it normally did. Well, make a liar out of me. Let's go backwards again and select our subject. Oh, it's okay. Why is it doing that, Michael? Normally it selects the whole thing.
Sometimes it just doesn't want to play. The brush strength doesn't matter on this because that's your smudge tool.
That's odd. Okay,
you could try select object and circle it. That would probably work better.
But this is really weird. Normally always does this. Okay, but look, here's the whole point. This is what I love about a Wacom tablet. I always do this. I get my lasso tool, and you'll see that if I hit the shift key, see that plus sign that goes underneath my lasso? All I have to do is go like this, and it's going to add to that selection. I say, oh, I should have got this. I just add a little more. If I hit the option key on a Mac, the minus sign comes, and I can refine that even more. This is a nighttime scene. I don't need this to be perfectly clean. So all I'm going to do is copy and paste it, and I'm going to get rid of my background layer. So now I have this ugly bed floating around. So I'm going to size it first of all. All right, let's just pop that bed right over here. These are the details that I look at is cloning. I might want to get rid of this little thing. So let's just get rid of that. And believe it or not, I am fine with this, except for the fact that it is colorized. I don't want it, I mean, it has a lot of color. It's a nighttime scene, so I will go to my adjustment layer. I can go to hue saturation or black and white. Let's just do black and white. When I do this and I click on this button down here, if you see that, that will clip it. It'll say, just apply this to the layer underneath. So I'm going to do that. And that said color balance. Sometimes you choose the wrong one and you got to go back and go black and white. There you go. I'm going to clip it. It only affects the bed. And I am going to scale it back just a little bit so there is just a hint of color there. Do you see? So far, so good. Any questions so far? We've not done anything complicated yet. Seriously, just cutting and pasting. I'm going to refine this just a little bit. And I can use my eraser tool. I'm good so far. All right, let's put our window in. Now, this was from a museum. And you will see that, let's put this up higher because it got in the wrong place. It is very ugly. Again, I don't worry too much about color at this stage because Photoshop lets you manipulate everything, even the perspective. So if I say Command T, if I right click on that, I get all these options. So I'm going to choose perspective. And look how I can have that come out and basically fool your eye into thinking that this was actually there. So I'm going to put that down here. Now let's keep it up here for a minute. I lost my clipping mask here. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. I don't know why one presentation, it all goes so smoothly, and the next one, it doesn't. I'm going to combine the black and white layer with this bed just by highlighting the two layers, Command E, and now the bed is there. Now I can put my lovely thing behind it. So let's just go and scale that so that it makes sense. Maybe a bit bigger. And I'm actually going to do the same thing that I did with bed. I'm going to go ahead and go layer, use saturation, and actually that I did black and white first, but I'm going to show you that it would easily work with hue saturation. I can also make it black and white. That's essentially what you're doing. It doesn't matter which one. There are a million ways you can do stuff in Photoshop, but the whole point is we are taking color away. I'm going to introduce just a hint. Okay, so I'm going to combine these two together. And I am going to put a layer mask on, and I'm going to go ahead and soften this line just a little bit. All right, and applying the layer mask, all you have to do is right click, apply, and now you don't have a layer mask anymore. So let's put this on overlay. And it's going to start blending in. I'm going to do the same with the bed. I'm going to put it on. I'm actually going to leave it normal. We're going to tone that down in just a little bit. So we're starting to build our image together. Now, here's what I wanted to say before. I keep the background layer like here that we have because I will use it several times. So I'll duplicate this, actually put it over top, and maybe do this on an overlay mode. I'm starting to match the color. That is what I'm working on right now. The closest that I can get this to being a night scene, the better. So I might even do this. Maybe I would do this again. And let's even do that just a little bit less. So I'm getting something that I like. And I don't worry about all this stuff here. I'm putting things together. I'll fine tune it later. So now let's add our girl. And this was a lot of fun. If we had had the workshop, we would have done this live and we would have had our model. I don't worry much about the the dress. This is actually just a piece of fabric that I purchased, like, I don't know, it was like tulle, very soft tulle. And I had her lay down and I draped it because I was only interested in this particular angle. So let's find the bottom part of her. And that would be here. You'll just laugh at how easily this comes together. Again, I'm not going to make this too complicated. So we go to our layers and I'm going to do select subject, and it hopefully, oh, it did a great job this time. Now I don't need, all I need is the bottom of her. So I get my lasso. I love this lasso. I use it all the time for everything. So I'm going to choose the option so that the negative sign comes up, and I'm going to take this away, and I'm just going to copy and paste and get rid of this layer because I don't need it anymore. Then I'm going to do the same with her. Select subject. I don't need the bottom half. So option key. There you go. Copy and paste. Let's get rid of what we don't need. So here we have our girl. Sorry about that. Somebody must be coming home. So if you hear a garage door, that is why. I'm just going to make this bigger. And I know it doesn't look good yet, but it will, because all we have to do is transform, free transform her, put her a little bit closer by. Same with the bottom. And let's just go like this. So far, I'm not really concerned because I know everything can be manipulated. I'm going to take away. You're going to see where the smudge brush is going to be so fantastic in this particular case, and the mixer brush, both. So as soon as I'm happy with how they're combined, let's see, I want her hair gone a little bit. So I'll get rid of some of this because, again, we've got our friends, the mixer brush and the smudge brush. So later on, I can play with this even more. Let me see. Any questions so far? No. So I'm going to combine the girls together, the two pieces together. And we are, believe it or not, we're coming to where this is all going to make really good sense. Now, right now.
Can you explain to everybody how you combine the two together again?
Yep. See the two, see the layers here? I'm going to move you. This is distracting. There you go. Okay. So you see how you have your layer 1 and 2? If I combine those by holding down my shift key, they're both highlighted. So then when I hit Command E, it puts it together. So now she's floating together.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome thing. Now, again, we're blending. So all I do when I do a composite, or one of the main parts as I'm building, is continually getting things to match along the way, like stepping stones. So clearly she is way not matching at all. She's too bright, she's too saturated. The tool that I love to use is, I love to go to filter, camera raw filter, because I use this all the time. Because here I can take the highlights down, way down. I can take the whites down. I can change her temperature to be a bit more blue. It's nighttime. I can take the saturation down. She shouldn't be very saturated. I might bring up a little bit of the orange under the luminance, but we don't have to. So let's just keep it at that and see what happens here. And where's the bottom? Come on. My apply key. Oh, you guys are down here. Hold on a minute. I find that screen to be, oh, I could minimize it. The one that you guys are all on, it keeps popping up different parts of my image. But look at this. We went from this to this just by using our that camera raw filter. So let me see where I need to refine something now. I just look at this and go, okay, that doesn't make sense. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so there she is. But I do not really like the fact that we've got this black that's showing through here. So again, using my background layer, it's the same background layer we created. I get my lasso tool. I'm down here. I copy and I paste it over top of her. And we can make that into an overlay mode. Put our mask on and invert it. Now we paint over the bits of black. Did everybody get that? And we basically cut and pasted the background layer behind her, because I do not merge everything till I feel pretty comfortable that that was the best I could do to get the colors to match. So this part is just the background layer here that I lassoed and I cut and paste, and inverted layer mask. So far, so good. So we've added our bed, we've added the curtains, we've desaturated both of them. It didn't matter if you did it hue saturation or if you did black and white. We changed the blend mode, we cut her out, we adjusted the coloring a bit. We're gonna go even more. So this is where I like to do the Shift Option Command E to do a stamp visible, Michael, that's what it's called. And I'm happy with where she is here. So now I'm gonna refine her. Now we are going to go to the mixer brush right here with the drop. And I'm just using a regular soft brush, but look what I can do now. This dress is atrocious, but let me get the right brush. I'm gonna go small. I'm using default settings. Now I can start painting over the dress. I'm keeping a lot of the texture there, but I can also create more of a painterly feeling, and I can blend this dress better by going like this. Even this can easily be painted. Questions, anyone, as I'm doing this? Because it's like watching paint dry for you guys.
No, this
So
is great.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
you copied the background layer and put that on the top, and now you're painting on that for mixing?
So this is a stamp visible. When you go to the top layer of anything you're working on and you do that Shift Option Command E, it's going to say, oh, okay, you want me to do a stamp visible of everything you've done so far. I say,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So now look, I can turn all this off and
Oh,
it's done nothing to the top.
yeah.
So it's just like saying, I'm going to give you a new working layer, but if I were to flatten it, I could have flattened it, but then if I said, ooh, shoot, I need my background layer still, because you'll see I keep using it. But
Yeah,
now I
okay.
can do, yeah.
I
So,
missed that you'd done that. Okay.
pardon me?
I missed that you had done that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it just works out really nice. And you would at this time, take time to really make sure I'm using small little strokes with my tablet. And that's kind of how I work it. I take my time. You know, this is when you pour yourself a big old glass of wine and you go, what the heck? It's COVID. I'm just going to take my time. And because it is therapeutic, art shouldn't be fast. You know, when you're working on a composite, I think people feel like it should come together fast, and it doesn't have to come together fast. It should just be an enjoyable process. So I take time with this.
Irene, this is John Powers. I'm looking up at the numbers up there, the wet, the load, and the mix.
Yes.
Are those locked in numbers that are essential, or can they vary? Or
Oh, they can vary. You can play with them, and like a paintbrush, I could, well, the wet is already set at high, so that's as high as it will go. I could make it less so that it doesn't drag as much. I'm sorry for this right here. So this is not, you know what, unless you're really painting with color, and that's the sort of tools that I learned more with Elevate Your Art. For this particular procedure, you could do the wet at 100%. You could do it at 50. Even if I went down to there, you'll see it's not really changing anything.
Okay.
So I would stick with the default.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, you would be taking time. These would all be smooth lines. It would look like just, you can make the most extraordinary dresses by using this brush. It's just very addicting. So I'm doing this fast. And well, because otherwise you guys are going to be bored out of your mind. I could at this point also see the curtains back here. I can also sweep over and get rid of those wrinkles. So anybody doing wedding dresses, you know, you can get rid of some wrinkles pretty easily. So there you go, we've got that. And I think I'll go here too. And if I wanted to, I could do any revision at this point. And I'm still not even really worried about this, but look, if you were, you could even refine this down here with a painting type technique. So far, so good. She is starting to blend in, but this is where I use my background again. You know, I'm not going to get rid of this. I'm going to duplicate it, bring it to the top, and watch how she blends in even more. Now the lights are starting to come down. It's a little too much for me, so layer mask, and I like using a gradient tool and sweeping up using black to white. Oh, let's go like that. And so now we're getting that feeling, we're blending the colors together. It's so important in a composite, and we're working on the story. It's dark and it's moody. I could do this again if I wanted to. Let's see what happens. Oh, hold on, didn't want to do that. Okay, now it looks even darker. And again, I can adjust the opacity. The point is you're playing with these blending modes, but they're married together because I have created my background and it's colorized how I want it. So it's kind of really starting to create that moody evening feel. And you saw how bad those images were that we started with. I mean, this was bright orange, this was icky, but we're not done yet. So I might look at this and go, oh, this is starting to be cool, and I like this, but I need to tell more. So I will do a stamp visible again. So it's kind of like flattening it, but I'm not, because I still have my background if I need it. So now, oh my gosh, this is where I love to play. I will get my mixer brush again, and her hair is looking quite atrocious right now, but I'm not worried about that because I'm just sweeping some hair away. So this is why I don't worry about hair cutouts ever with the kind of composite work I do. It's not commercial, so it doesn't really matter, because I can really have fun painting and creating that feeling of movement.
Irene, what brush are you using for the hair?
What pressure?
What brush?
Oh, what brush? Oh, just the standard round one.
Okay.
And look, I can get rid of this stray one. I'm just going over it. I wish you could see. I'm on my Wacom. I'm attacking my Wacom. I'm doing it quickly. I'm getting rid of some of the real detailed hairs because I don't want it to look too detailed. You wouldn't see all that in a at nighttime anyway. And I can see this.
Any chance you could zoom in a little bit more on her hair?
Well, there
you go. Now we can see really good. It was hard to see your brush as you were doing it.
Okay, so here I'm just going over. I'm not obliterating the hair because I want those highlights still there, but you can see if I go over it, I can start creating a feel that is just, it's fun. Not anything complicated. I'm just going through. I can pull up from the bottom. I can pull down from the top. And again, this all here, you know, would have been way worked in, but in the interest of time, I am not, but you guys get the feeling of this. So now look what we've done with her hair from here to here. Just using that silly brush with just the soft round, that soft round brush. She didn't need anything special for this. Okay, now let's turn, now that we turned all the lights off on her, let's bring some lights back in. So here's where I love, love, love my lasso tool. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna imagine that I want light. This is gonna look like a distorted monster hand, but who cares? This is where I'm imagining my light to be. If I right click on that selection, I have all these choices. I'm gonna just choose feather. And it doesn't matter what you feather at. I'm gonna just say 50. And you'll see why that doesn't really matter. Go to layer, curves, and I'm gonna raise up on my curves. So I'm putting light on her again. But light has colors, so if I go to red and I scooch it over here at the top, and if I go to blue, that makes yellow. And so now I've got a feeling of light here. And that technique I actually learned through Brooke Shaden. Again, she's such a generous teacher, but I really like this way of applying light because I can be real specific. So for instance, lasso tool, I'm gonna go, I wonder, I think light would be here. I think there would be some light spill here, maybe a little bit more here. And here, do you see, I just kind of imagine where it would be. I know some people put a big curves adjustment layer and work backwards, but I like this way myself. So what if I didn't right click and feather it? Well, let's just see what happens. Go to curves, go up. Now you can see there is no feathering and it looks really, really, really bad. But I'm still adjust my lighting. I'm gonna go to the left on the red. I'm gonna go down to get some yellow. Now see this, it looks like a camera here. If I click on that, I have this feather feature. So I can start pulling that totally to that side to the right, and it will feather it as well. Click on that side, I've got my curves adjustment again. So we're adding that light together and it's starting to really take shape. And I have, oh my gosh, so much fun with this. So now I might go, you know, I like this, but how do I want, before I end the whole thing, how do I want to frame this? Because it might impact even further the story that I tell. So I'm going to do the merge visible, stamp visible, shift option command E. Again, I've got another basically screenshot as it were. So I'm going to experiment with how do, and let's just, for the record, let's just turn off everything underneath for a second. Okay, I'm going to say, I wonder how it would look. I could do a square. I love ovals because I don't know, it brings your eye in. So in this image, this is what I had chosen to do. So I did layer mask and I was like, oh yeah, that is cool. But it could still have a more powerful story. So then I go, well, what could I borrow from? What could I borrow from? All right. There was, if you recall, a candlestick in one of these. So let's go. Here, I'm going to turn this off a minute. See this candlestick? Always thinking, what about the story? So I'm using that lasso tool, nothing complicated here. And I am going to get this. And you'll see where you just have to play. It's like color forms when you were a kid and you had that and you're like, I don't know, I loved color forms. I think I just thought they were the bomb. So I'm gonna bring this up here. Now we've got to put it in our scene. So let's throw it down here. It's under normal blend mode right now because I borrowed it from one of the pictures we had right here. I'm going to erase this section here. All right, does everybody see that here? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, did everybody go? And it's just, okay, so now let's add some light in there. And so here again, the lasso tool. Look how fun. I'm gonna get closer so you can see. And I'm just gonna draw what I think a flame looks like. There you go. And I'm not even gonna soften this, but I'm gonna put a light on here. So let's go to curves again. Let's go up, 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 up. Let's get our red, get our blue. And I don't know what happened to that little curve right there, but it kind of disappeared on me. So let me get a white brush and add it back in a little bit. Black. Okay. And that's not looking much like that, but that's okay. We'll work on that in just a little bit. Let me get my lasso and try to do that over again. Oh, you are just being a pal. All right.
You're on your masks is why it's not selecting pixels.
No, but I'm just trying to create another.
Okay.
This is odd. It's just sometimes it can just be a little bit of a technical difficulty. But what I'm doing is I'm putting on multiple curves layers to add light and to kind of balance that. Then I'm going to do it again. Going to go around each flame, and I don't know why that flame is causing me issues, and sometimes it does, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to still feather this a little bit, so let's go like that. It went smaller because it's feathered. Go to curves again, and we're going to go higher. Again, I'm going to play with my coloring. Red, blue, because I want the color to have temperature. Now I'm going to do this even again. Now I'm taking a larger area. Because I feel like light has different temperatures the further away that you go. It just has a different feel. I didn't right click here, and that happens sometimes. And then it doesn't matter because we can click on this part of the mask and feather it. So I'm going to feather it some more. Let me zoom out. And then, of course, I imagine that she should have light on her face. So I'll just select some. Holding my shift key down here, I think I would add maybe a little bit more here, maybe a little bit more on this edge. There's no rhyme or reason. I just kind of imagine that's where it is. If I don't like it, I can hit Command Z and go backwards. So I am going to go to curves again. You're getting the picture because I'm doing the same darn thing. Red, blue, okay, and oh, and let's feather this. Okay. So we keep adding different components, but do you see how just because of putting that background layer we initially created over again and again on multiply, it really does have an eerie evening feeling to this. So at this point, I would go, you know what? I am happy with this. Or I might say, I wish I had more here. So let's just see what happens here. If I don't like it, I'm not destroying the environment. I can get rid of it. Blue, take it down, and feather it here. So I can get even some more color tone there. I could even say I wanted it a bit brighter. But at this point, let's just say, you know, I'm kind of happy with that. This is when I create a new, I duplicate it. I go like this, image, duplicate, okay. And I am going to combine all those curves I just did. And now I'm done with everything under here. So I am just gonna get rid of all this. I don't need it. Delete it. So now I just have my free flowing person. And now I'm gonna show you how I finish and frame it. But does anybody have any questions to this point?
Can you go back to step 3?
Sure, that's right here when we added the, you're such a smart ass.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
I have a question. Why did you go to image duplicate just in that step right before this last step?
This one
Instead of-
where I duplicate it? Because, okay, that is such a great question, a really great question. I keep one, I would save this as whatever I'm going to call it. It was called In Dreams. And I call it In Dreams Building, because this is where I'm building all my things, so that later when I go, gosh, how did I do that? Or what was the blend mode on? Then you can reference back. It's almost like having a recipe. So I do not flatten this layer. I create a duplicate and go, and then I kind of flatten it all and play around with this one. But the first one,
you keep the other one for reference for later then.
for reference, or say I go back and somebody like Michael says, I don't like those candles in there. I can go, oh, I really respect what he says. So I'm going to go back here and I can take all that off, and now it's gone. So I can make changes based on input. I mean, never underestimate or value other photographers' input. I love when somebody says, I like this, or I don't like that. I'm fine with that. I think it's great, because sometimes you don't see something. Don't ever post something the night you did it, because the next morning you're going to go, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
That's happened
Okay.
to me before.
So you,
Anyhow.
so you basically save this one as a PSD, like a Photoshop image,
Yep.
all the layers, and
Yep.
then you, instead of flattening it, you did a duplicate.
Yes.
I've never done a duplicate, but I have flattened the image. I save the PSD, then I flatten it and make a JPEG. So basically,
And you can do that for sure, but because I know where I'm going with this, to mat it and frame it for you, this is how I do it. And it still is a PSD, but there's nothing in the background, and I'll show you why. So I will create, this is how I do my presentations all the time. I'm going to take a sample of the background of the image, the darkest one generally. I'm going to create a new layer. I could do a fill layer, but I'm just going to create a new one and dump the paint in. Boom. If I felt this was too dark, all I have to do is Command L, which is levels, and I can make this lighter or darker. I prefer it to be darker because of where I'm going with it, so let's just keep it here. Now, this is a whole lot of fun. If I see how I'm on my thumbnail, if I just Command click there, I get my little marching ants, and it's exactly my circle. I go to the layer underneath, Command paste. Now I'm going to go to Effects and go to Inner Glow. I do this with every single image that I do. I'm going to choose a complementary blue color, and I can change this, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. Watch this. Command T, I can extend out. Command T. I can extend out my, what appears to be a beveled, I'm just going to do that because I can refine it, and you'll see how easy it is. If I click on this again, the inner glow part, I can change this color. So now I can look at the image right there and say, do I want it lighter? And see here, I can adjust the opacity. I can make this less I can have no opacity. I can add more. Come on, White, come back up. The video is making it, I think, go lower, or the onlineness. But see how I can affect that? I can affect the size. Look at that where it says size here. I can make this a small beveled edge. I might say, ooh, this is still a little bit too bright for me. I'm going to bring this down. And then I go, you know what? I like that. I can still change it at any point, but I do need a line around my image as well. So a stroke line. I'm going to go to stroke, choose 1, 3, generally a size of 3. I'm going to make this much less bright. It should be subtle, very subtle, in my opinion. And at this point, you might go, yeah, but your oval sucks, Irene. It really doesn't. That's okay, because all I have to do is Command T, hold the Shift key down, and I can play around with that. I can tuck it in. I can bring it up.
Even though you're moving that, it's not distorting the image?
Nope, because it's on its own layer. See here?
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm sorry, you guys have to see my messy, messy desktop back there. I'm the quintessential, like, not a messy artist, but when it comes to my desktop, oh my gosh.
Hit the green button in the upper left and it'll
Oh yeah, I could do
go
that.
full screen.
It's okay. I have nothing to hide, really. This is, by the way, a cool thing I stumbled on. It's Mixu's. It's kind of a palette. I use that when I paint. It's fun because I don't have to keep like looking up colors. I can just hop on and grab any color I need as I'm going. But it gets, again, messy. Anyhow, that is how I frame this. So this is floating on its own. I can change the color. And by the way, I always make another duplicate. So image, oh my gosh, duplicate. There we go. This would be the one I flatten. And I will call that one final number 1, only because if you knew me, I would wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I didn't like that. So I'll have a final number 2, a final number 3, a final, and then a final. No, really, it's the final before I get to the final. But I keep this too, because if I do want to change, like if I go, ooh, that was still too bright, you know, daylight, now I want to change it, I still can. So I have the building one, the one that I put the mat on, and the final. So then I can always go back and I can still, I might say, gosh, I wish that I had, you know, darken this down or whatever. I have a lot of choices I can still make, but that's how I put it together. So again, we worked with, you saw them in my libraries, we worked with that and, you know, the bed, they were all ugly elements really in and of themselves, but putting them on that background, and the background we just built with the gray, where's my layers? Let's go down here. We started with the gray, if you can see this over to the right, and we put the background, we changed it, the blending modes to multiply and overlay, and we played with them, then we added the bed, and we added Our Lady, we added the background again a few more times, then we added the light. And really that's what it comes down to, is continually before you flatten it, kind of get those colors to match. And all these layer things here, whether it's hues, saturation, black and white, are so helpful, but so really is Camera Raw Filter. It is so great because it can adjust anything. Even now I could still make adjustments to this image if I wanted to, just even by going into that particular area. So that is this image deconstructed. Have I lost anybody?
No, you're good. I enjoyed.
Amazing.
Do some more.
I do. Can I ask you again how you made that inner glow go to the outside and you put it on a different layer?
You bet. Okay, let's get rid of it. So here's my image. And the stroke, it's okay if the stroke's on there. I don't think it's going to impact what we do. But I have on my Mac, I don't know, command, what is command on a PC?
Control.
Control.
So command or control, and if I click on the image while I'm holding command and control on the thumbnail, I'll get the marching ants. I will go to my layer underneath, which is just one solid layer. I will do a command copy, a command paste. And I think for the purposes of you guys seeing what you're seeing, let's just actually extend the size. You're not going to see it because it's the same color yet. So I'm just going to hit enter.
So
Then,
would you unclick the top layer so I can just see what that layer is? Is that just a black oval?
It is
Layer 2?
it's
Okay.
the same color
Okay.
as this. Basically, it's the same color. I
Makes
just
sense.
use this as
Okay.
a reference. So it just kind of gets me in the ballpark. And actually, you can also extend it in exact proportion. But this just gives me like what I need. And then I go to inner glow right here, effects, inner glow.
Okay.
And here it says, what color do you want to do? You know, do you want to go red? Do you want to go wherever? And you can kind of just play around with it, slide it down, find something that you like, or you could pick here. You can pick, you can kind of pick one of these colors there. But I just like go as I kind of like to sit back and see what color is really speaking to me as I'm looking at that. And I'm going to get rid of this. Say, okay. And here's where you can still make adjustments. You can make your beveled thing kind of bigger, but I think it's best smaller. I normally don't make it bevel out more than something like this. That's by the size here. And of course, I can make it change the opacity. That's way too bright. I can scale it back. Now it's really blending in with that background. I'm gonna hit OK. And I can still change the size, the shape. I'm holding my shift key down so I can freely transform whatever I want. Go down, okay. And I literally do this with every single image that I do. I always do a bevel thing exactly in this way. And I think it makes for a clean presentation. Even if you don't want to composite, even if you do your, whatever you're doing, if you're doing it for PrintCon, they will absolutely look at how you, if you took the time to finish your work, right? So it does, it kind of cleans it up. It directs your eyes. So I think it just makes it more fun. And I might go back tomorrow and go, wow, Irene, that flame is just like way too sharp. I'll get my smudge tool and I'll kind of soften it. See how I can manipulate the shape. I have one of those days today that my mouth is dry, so it makes it like I've got sand in my mouth. So I might still visit. This is why the next day I always go back and I may still see things that I want to fine tune. I might want to make this, you know, the drapes a little bit more drapey and get my mixer brush and just sweep down. And I can create even a more painterly feel. So always revisit your picture the day after because you may make more changes. You might want to, you know, smooth out your bed some more. You might be, you know, so I just revisit it. But that's kind of how I worked on this particular image.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have like 40 years of film, of children's photography. Can I do this with scanning a photo and do, I mean, I've done a lot of scanning and doing painting on the photos, painting them on the computer, but can I get a negative, scan it, because it can be grainy, and still do this with it?
I'm sure you could. Because in essence, that is exactly, that bed was very grainy. So you could absolutely do something like that.
Okay.
Yep. There's no photo that's off limits because you can even take a grainy photo and make it less grainy with the smudge tool or the mixer brush. So you can, you know, it's the point is to just get out there and start like looking up all those people that I said as well, because they're all such generous people that give so much information, and we've got the time to experiment right now. And absolutely, I've been doing a lot with photo restorations because, well, what separates you more than, you know, dead people? So, you know, at least the pictures that I get are really, really old. And I take them and I'm starting to work with those images just for fun, really more than anything, because I can get my hands on some fun pictures, especially if you go to the antique store. Oh my gosh, great images there.
You mean like the postcards, the old postcards?
Yes, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Okay,
So,
great. Well, thank you. I've been working a lot with a lot of my old photos, like making photocopies because the scanner doesn't do a good job, and then working with them and handing to them now on the computer, because I used to do it with paint on the photo. Now I'm doing it on the computer, and it's time consuming.
it is time consuming, but I mean, and I know there are actions to everything, because sometimes I'll do a painting and they'll go, you can just like put in action. It's like, sure you can, but I think part of it is the pleasure of using what I feel like is a real pen and enjoying the process, you know?
Well, I did get from one of these classes how to make an action, and I've made some nice actions. Thank you. I really did enjoy learning how to make actions because they've been really helpful. It does save a lot of time.
It does.
And you know, and in terms of, I just saw a video the other day, and it was by a guy on, he's on YouTube. Pix. Oh gosh, he's like this Indian guy with a unibrow,
Yeah.
right?
I
I'm
can't think of
It's Pix Imperfect, Umesh.
yes, and
It's
yeah,
my brother.
yeah. he's-
Brother from another mother.
That's right.
So he has a great, look at his YouTube, subscribe to it. Another amazing teacher. There's so many good teachers out there. It's not even funny, but he shows how to cut. I learned a whole new technique today of colorizing that I still have to go back and redo because it was with color gradients and stuff, but it was so fascinating that I think I may have to rethink how I'm colorizing some images. But look him up.
What was his name?
Yo,
Umesh. Umesh.
no, the MPEX? No, the
Pix Imperfect.
Pix Imperfect.
Pix Imperfect. Okay.
Yeah. So that they've showed how to colorize. It was just a different technique. Then you have to scroll down and look for it because it's like YouTube where you have to, but I don't know how I stumbled on that particular one, but I did. And oh gosh, that was really amazing.
Oh, good. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it really is fascinating.
And thank you. This was a great class. I did enjoy watching how you put it together.
Oh, I just hope people aren't afraid to try, because you can make masterpieces out almost nothing if you're not afraid to play with it.
There's a lot of little shortcuts that you do that I'm not familiar with, but I will go back and rewatch it so I can maybe pick some up because there was a lot.
I know. It's a lot, but a lot of it was repetitive things. You'll
Yeah.
see when you watch the video again, it was a lot of using the same background again and again and again with different blend modes. A lot of curves, adding light and changing the blend modes. That's 90% of what I'm doing when I'm working with stuff like this.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
I'm glad you came.
Really, Michael?
Trust me, I learned a bunch, girl.
I am too.
I always do.
Aw,
I always do from you. You rock.
aw, well,
Rock.
I want people to be excited and keep looking at. It's like that guy from Miracle on Santa, the guy from Miracle on
34th Street.
When he
Yeah.
tells people, okay, you need to go to this store, you need to go here. There's so many great stores out there of people And I'm always amazed at what's out there and how much we can learn.
Well, very inspirational. I gotta give you that. I was happy, very happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Irene. It was good.
Thank you. Thank you. And have everyone stay safe. I can't wait to see you all again in person.
Same
That
here.
makes two of us. I can't wait as well.
I know. It'll be soon, right? Let's pray. It'll be
Thank
soon.
you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Irene.
much.
You're
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really enlightening.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank you.
All right.
Heard a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
all right.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks, Irene.
Bye.